Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news here on the Chicago Bears podcast. Pat the Designer, Jason McKie in the building. We went live for this because this is massive news per Adam Schefter. The Chicago Bears have extended Ryan Poles. We got to talk about the implications of this, what that could mean for the team now moving forward in a very, very different position than maybe we thought they were going to be in. But also a little, maybe a little double breaking news here from Adam Schefter, J-Mac. But first off, want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Want to get your thoughts, J-Mac. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave the 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Just on the surface, let's start with this, J-Mac. Per Adam Schefter, again, like I said, the Bears general manager has agreed to a contract extension that ties him to Chicago for the next 5 years through the 2029 season. Poles had 2 years remaining on his old deal, but now the Bears have him and new head coach Ben Johnson both under contract for a matching 5 seasons. J-Mac, just off rip, do you like this move for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, and I know a lot of people are going to look at the overall record under Ryan Poles. He's 15-36 overall as the Bears GM, right? And we can talk about the years like there was some. Look at the first year. I look at it as like a redshirt year. He had to rebuild, had to revamp an entire roster when he came in back in 2022. He wasn't left anything. We saw that. So, a lot of things that you got to really look at. But I think when you look at, making sure that your GM is in line with a new head coach that you just hired this offseason. Also, he finally has his guy at quarterback, with Caleb Williams. So, I think, yes, he's been able to put his fingerprints on this team throughout his tenure, but I think we're really starting to see that more. Even last year, we're starting to see that more of him really, constructing a roster that he really wants and guys that really fit the style of play that he wants the Chicago Bears team to fit, but also finding the right high character guys, the right mix of guys to really be in that locker room and help build this team chemistry and culture. And it just starts with the head coach, that they just brought in, and like we've been talking about for weeks, and the coaching staff that he's brought in. So I think it was a good move. They're trying to have some continuity. Last year we saw a lot of dysfunction, and I think it would have been weird to, you hire a new head coach, and then a couple years from now you got to get a new GM, and that's not his guy. So how would that look? But now they're on the same timeline, so I think we're gonna see more good things from the Bears moving forward.
Now, I think, listen, I said it was double breaking news. That part in there had been disputed, that it was 1 year, that it was 2 years left on Ryan Poles' old deal. There's going to be a lot of people that look at this and say, listen, you just haven't won enough games for you to be able to go out there and get a contract extension. Almost hey, you're in a situation where you have failed up. And that's kind of what we're seeing here from Ryan Poles. I understand marrying him to the head coach and keeping him here, but you had 2 years left on this deal. Do you like the fact that the Bears said 2 years be damned, we're going to go out here and get this done? Or do you feel like you needed to see this team maybe wait a year and say, hey, see what you got? See if he goes out there and wins. As much as we may like Ben Johnson, as much as we may like this coaching staff, W's and L's are all that matter at the end of the day, and he doesn't have very many W's.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a good question. I think that's tough. I know Ryan Poles. I like Ryan Poles, and obviously I'm going to give an unbiased analysis and opinion, not based upon the relationship that I have with him, but just based upon the resume. And like I said when I came on, 15 wins since 2022 when he took over, and I 3-14 his first year, franchise low. They what was it a 14? Hold on a second. It was a what was the losing streak that first year? No, the second year they had a 14-game losing streak, right?
Yeah.
In 2022, and like I said, that year it's like, hey, you know what? He inherited a roster from Ryan Pace that older guys, not a lot of cap space. He tried to, you remember, he traded Khalil Mack, traded Roquan, tried to acquire some draft picks, free up some cap space to rebuild and reconstruct a roster that he inherited that was in shambles. And I think that first year it's like a red shirt year. Okay, we know we're not going to be competitive. He's just trying to find ways to make us competitive in the future, and he did that. Obviously, look at what he did with the DJ Moore pick, and not DJ Moore pick, but acquiring DJ Moore with that first round pick we had, and all the pieces that came along with that, all the players, all the pieces, and how we just the rewards kept happening for the Bears with that big move that he made, right? And then on the flip side, you look at some of the moves he made that didn't pan out. Even with the draft picks, you look at the Chase Claypool, who's still looking for work right now.
And talking trash while doing it.
I mean, it's tough, man. I think the Bears just say, hey, we've seen enough in Ryan Poles, and the record obviously does not reflect that, but we like what he's been able to do in terms of exactly what he said when he took over the job. Making us competitors and big players via the draft, via free agency, right? For years to come, and not putting this organization in situations to where they can't make moves or have that flexibility to be able to do the things that they've been doing here the last few years. And I think when you look at it, he's done that. The only thing he hasn't done is win, and consistently. And so I mean it's tough. It's tough. It is. What do you think, Pat?
I'll say this. I'll give you my opinion here in a second. Want to make sure that we do hit our sponsors in this. We appreciate them for supporting the podcast. Bears Podcast brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field. Exit 6 right off of I-80 94. Here's my thought on this, J-Mac. You did have that second year that you could have waited to see what Ryan Poles was going to do. He has not won enough. Yeah. That's 110%. Yeah. But you cannot come here if you have been banging the table all offseason talking about the Chicago Bears have gone out and they have gotten the job done, and they've put together one of the best teams I've ever seen in my lifetime, and they've put together one of the best coaching staffs I've ever seen in my lifetime, and say none of that is on Ryan Poles' shoulders. You have to play. You can't play both sides of the fence on this. There's people out there that will say, Ben Johnson already wanted to come to Chicago. You still got to sell him on why this is a good job to be in and why he wants to be here long term. Yeah, he wants to he wants to coach Caleb Williams. You know what he also wants to do? Be a head coach in the NFL a long time. It's a lot easier to go into a situation that is bad and never get that opportunity again, or be looked at as the guy who has failed in that opportunity. And so, I don't know if we really want that. It's going to be a while, or maybe never happen again for Matt Eberflus to get another head coaching job. You want to go into the best situation. Ryan Poles had to sell Ben Johnson on that. Then it goes into, okay, we got Ben. We love Ben. We appreciate everything. Ben, who do you want? I want the best defensive coordinator on the market who just got fired this offseason. Also, I would love to have the best running backs coach on the market that's not even in the NFL right now. I would also love to go get Antoine Randall and bring him in here, but you're going to have to pay him because he's basically an assistant head coach over there. And I would also love to get Al Harris. All of these names that are highly paid people. Ryan Poles has to go in there and do all of that. He has to convince them that this is the situation. Yeah, I want to work with Ben, but I also want the money that's going to be in my bank account at the end of the day. That's Ryan Poles. Then you got to go out there and put the team together that Ben Johnson wants. That's the biggest part of this job. And J-Mac, the flip in the mindset of this team and the reason that we're excited about what this team can possibly do this season is because Ben Johnson came in, and him and Ryan Poles talked about this at the podium with us, and they said, listen, I know what kind of players I want. I'm telling you what kind of players I want. You get me the kind of players I want, and I can win football games. Now, we got to see if they win football games. But when Ryan Poles said he picked up the phone and asked Ben Johnson, do you want Joe Thuney? The answer was yes. Yeah. He hung up the phone, got the deal done.
Yeah.
Do you want Jonah Jackson? Yeah, let's get the deal done. Do you want Drew Dalman? Yeah, I need the best center that we can get on the market. You can't look at everything that's happened this offseason and say Ryan Poles had nothing to do with that. It makes sense to marry these guys together. I'm not saying the decisions previously, J-Mac, weren't bad. Nate Davis is one of the worst football moves I've seen in my life. Tremaine Edmonds is being voted as one of the worst contracts in football right now because of the production we've seen on the field. There are blemishes. Chase Claypool, which was one, I ain't gonna lie. I did say go get Chase Claypool. I didn't think he would actually listen to me. Don't listen to me on football stuff no more, Ryan. Like, you do what you do. But, like, there are all these things that it's like bad decisions that you can point at that all of a sudden it doesn't seem like they exist with the team that you just put together. You have to put that feather in the cap of Ryan Poles.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, it's such a weird, like, just evaluating his tenure as a GM. It's so weird because it's like, you go through turmoil, right? We've gone through dysfunction. We've gone through embarrassment. We've gone through losing as Bears fans, as Bears analysts, right? Under the tutelage of Ryan Poles. But what happens every offseason? What happens every offseason? Right? We're major players in the offseason. Right? We're the offseason champs. Offseason. We're
Yeah, I
gonna
got a
do
little
this.
Kool-Aid, J Mac. I got a little
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
every year
I got a
it's
little
been like
Kool-Aid.
that.
Ah, you got a little Kool-Aid, J Mac.
It's been like that every year. Am I right, Pat? It's been
You
like
are
that every year.
100% right.
So it's so weird to really, I mean, not analyze, but just to kind of see where we're at right now. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what we think. He's here for 5. So you can be mad, you can be happy. At the end of the day, like, this Bears team and this organization and this roster is going to be ran through Ryan Poles, for the next few years. And I think that, like I said before, looking at the first few years, we knew we weren't going to be competitive, right, based upon how things were left. But now, I mean, the arrow is trending upward with the moves that he made, right, on paper. And I keep saying that's why I'm so excited to go out and see, how this team looks and how this team is ran with a new head coach, right, that has generated so much excitement, but also brought a really good staff along with him that also has experience, but also has, good track records of in terms of being able to develop players, but also a good track record of winning. You know what I mean? And it's tough. Like, you can bring in a coach, right, and he can develop players, but has he been on a team, or has he been with an organization that has had consistent success? And
Yeah.
when you look at some of these guys, you look at Bieniemy, he's got the rings to prove it. You look at Al Harris, who was down there in Dallas, and yes, that's not an organization that was winning, but you have a guy who, when he speaks in that defensive back room, people are going to listen because what he did as a player, but also because of the respect that he's gained, right, throughout his coaching tenure. And look at the way he developed those defensive backs down there in Dallas. I mean, he's got those guys playing. He's had those guys playing well.
Yeah.
And when you look at, even more guys, you talk about Antoine Randall, who comes from an organization, the Detroit Lions, that did a complete 360, not just under head coach Dan Campbell, but because of that coaching staff that Dan Campbell was able to have in place, along with Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall, doing a great job of developing players to be successful, that help create a culture of winning, right, and sustain success. So that's the excitement, and that's, like you said, Ryan Poles has had his fingerprints on all of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, getting Ben here, right, and then constructing this roster, with Ben hand in hand. Hey, Ben, like you said, you want Jonah? We got Jonah. What do you think? We got Jonah. Who do you need to help transcend this offense right this year in the first round? Okay, let's get Colston Loveland. You know what I'm saying? Second round, we think we found a gem, not a gem, but a guy who may not have been as high on people's draft boards, but a guy who Ryan Poles probably scouted a ton because, he's a Boston College alum. Let's get Isaac Trapilo in here, to help compete with Braxton Jones and
Yeah.
Karan Amagaji. So, when you look at the roster, right, like I said, the potential is there. And we say that every year, right? And 15 and 36, potential's gotten us beat. And like potential, like I said, you can either you're either going to win, right, or you're going to lose, and that's what
Yeah.
potential is. It's the outlook, but it's got to go out there and it's got to be proven. And we haven't proven anything. Every off season we get our hopes up, and we've been let down. So I'm just excited to go out there and see, how this thing is going to work, and see what this coaching staff can actually, put together.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to. Are you going to be able to actually go out there and get the job done? Let me ask you this, J Mac, though, with all of this, getting Ryan Poles tied in now and him paired up with Ben Johnson. Does this take the heat off of Ryan Poles for this season? You kind of knew that this was going to be the case. I fully
Yeah,
expected Ryan Poles to
yeah,
get extended, but
yeah.
does this take the heat off of Ryan Poles for this season of like, hey, it's a make or break season. If you don't win, we go into next season with a heck of a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think it's, you got to win. You got to win now. And, it's like if you don't win now, it's like you look back and we look at, and I'll use the boxing analogy, Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver, right? That
Mm-hmm.
second fight, Antonio Tarver, they come out, they break gloves, and Antonio Tarver tells Roy Jones, "You got any excuses tonight, Roy?" What would the excuse be, Pat? You got the coach you want. You got the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Quarterback's in his second year. We got the messiah, the head coach that everybody coveted in the offseason. Like, you got to win. And it's not, for me, I mean, this is not just talking about Ryan Poles, but this is just this Bears team as a whole. Like, it's not good enough just to compete. Like, I'm not happy if we go out there and we lose to Green Bay, but we only lose by a field goal. Like that, well, we competed though. No, that's not good enough. Competing in the NFL is not good enough. You have to win.
Yeah.
And 15-36 isn't good enough. And Ryan sit there and tell you that himself. That's not good enough. You got to win. You got to win now. So it ain't, the red shirt year was in 2022. Yes, you got a contract extension, but it doesn't take, that doesn't take
Doesn't
the
take the
pressure off
pressure
you.
off of them.
Right. It does. I mean, if anything, it adds the pressure. Oh, why do we re-sign a guy who now he still can't win? You know what I mean? Like, they got to win now. You're getting
Yeah.
everything that you want. You're making moves, right? You're trending in the right direction on paper. We keep talking, good things about the Bears, but it's time to win. It's been time to win. Long
Yeah.
overdue.
100%. And I think the bottom line now is that the one thing that I do love about this move, and like you said, winning has been kind of the theme of this podcast. The one thing that I do love about this move, though, is I think it fully stamps that this Bears team is all in on spending money to go get the job done. That's something we can't say about what we've seen from this team in the past. This team has operated we're going to get the up and coming guy. Yeah, you have found some really good up and coming guys. Lovie Smith was a great up and coming guy, your former head coach, right? You found some of those guys where it's like, we got the right guy. We got him in here cheap in the beginning and we were able to save money, and we got this coordinator in here and he made this happen. You're not doing that. You're not operating in that same manner anymore. And I think that's the biggest thing right now, right? Like, yes, I look at this in the Ryan Poles sense of Ryan Poles has to get this done, but you went out and you spent more on Ben Johnson basically than your entire coaching staff was making last season. And then you continued to pay. You went out and you paid for your players. Now you've gone out and you've paid Ryan Poles. And I saw this article, and I don't know if we talked about it yet on the podcast. Maybe we'll get into that some last week. But the Bears got a B- offseason grade on what they did this offseason, right? They got ESPN gave him a B- offseason grade. I think Seth Walder was the writer of that article. And he basically said, listen, like, there's all these things that you did, but I don't know how many wins it's going to get you this season.
Exactly.
This isn't about just this season, though, for me. This is about changing the mindset of how the Bears have done things for the last 45, 55, 65, 75 years. Like, the Bears have been building teams the exact same way basically since the inauguration of the Chicago Bears. The last time that they decided let's do something different was when they invented the quarterback position. Now you're seeing this Bears team go out there and do it a different way, build it a different way, invest in a different way than we've ever seen. I think that continues here with Ryan Poles.
Yeah, I agree. It goes back to, like you said, we're going to have to, it's still an unknown with the head coach, right? Like, we don't know. You spent money on a guy, like we said, that's been highly coveted, not just last year, even the year before, but he decided to stay in Detroit. But a guy that can put together a good offensive scheme. A guy that has a track record, and yes, he can help develop and put a quarterback in the right situation to be successful, right? So now you got Caleb Williams in that realm. You saw what he did with Jared Goff there in Detroit. So at least you know that you have a head coach that can help get this offense moving in the right direction, right? But at the same time, like you're saying, it's they've shown that they're not the same old Bears, trying to do things at a discounted price in terms of, trying to find a player for a discounted price and hoping to hit a home run with his production. They're out there spinning. We're going to spin, right? If he's supposed to be the hottest coach, he's supposed to be the man, we're going to pay that man. And that's what they've done. So, like I said, what excuses will we have this year if we're not like I said, it ain't good enough to be competitive. You got to win. So if we ain't winning, what did Antonio Tarver say? You got any excuses tonight or this year? Like, that's kind of where I'm at. So, we can talk about it as much as we want, and it's like you said, we knew that this was going to happen, right? Ryan Poles has been a part of the Ben Johnson hiring process. We knew that's what the Bears wanted. Obviously, he brought in Caleb Williams. That's his quarterback now. So you got the alignment has to be there. But here's the thing, right? You got to go out there and win. And that's it.
100%. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you this, and I want to ask the chat this. I want to get to some of you guys' comments in the chat as well. Some of the respectful ones, because some of y'all boys be wilding in this month. But when you talk about confidence, J Mac, where's your confidence? Where's your trust level in Ryan Poles now over the next 5 years? He signed through 2029. Scale of 1 to 10. Where's your confidence level in Ryan Poles? And what do you is this hey, you got 5 years to get a Super Bowl, my boy?
Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate goal, and it's not just like I said. You got to win. We want to win. Yes, we want to win the division. We want to get in the playoffs, and the ultimate prize is winning a Super Bowl, right? And it goes back to what do the Bears? What is competitive? You know what I'm saying? Competitive. If it's just good enough for us to have a winning record, is it just good enough for us to get into the playoffs? Just good enough for us to win a division and not really have an opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl? But I think when you're saying, okay, we're going to be married to Ryan for the next 5 years, we got the head coach in line. Like we're trying to go get the ultimate prize, and that's the Super Bowl. So I think it's you have to, because when you only win 15 games. I mean, it's a tough question. I don't know.
Little shot looking up at the division there. Little shot. You won all them games and didn't get the job done right there.
Yeah.
It's true, though. You can have great listen, I'll say this. I think that winning consistently does keep you on a path of, you have something to continue to build on and continue to add to. And that's something we haven't had. It's very difficult to add to a 3-win football team. It just is at the end of the day. But when you talk about going out there and winning and not getting the job done on a consistent basis, we see what's happening up in Pittsburgh. You start to make moves in desperation. Mike Tomlin's been there a long time, had a championship run, and then has kind of just had these one-off, we got an opportunity here, we got a chance here, we fell short. Hey, we lost in the first round. We didn't make the playoffs, but we had a fun season. Eventually, that stuff starts to get old, and I do think that has to play a part in this conversation.
Yeah, like you're talking about Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, but you look back and is that good enough? No, it's winning Super Bowls. It's winning Super Bowls. Kansas City, right? And I know that's, different franchise, different way of doing things. And Ryan Poles has been a part of that organization. He's pretty much raised in the organization from, the scouting department, and he saw, how things were done. He understood, he saw on a daily basis of what success looks like. So even in Kansas City, like, it's not good enough for them to go to the playoffs. They got to win the Super Bowl. They don't win the Super Bowl, the season was a failure. And, obviously there are steps before you can get your franchise to that level. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like when you have all the pieces and the ingredients, I think that, with 15 wins, like for me, it's like, okay, yes, get to the playoffs. That's the first step. Congratulations. All right. But the ultimate goal is winning a Super Bowl. And, he's tied here for 5 more years. So it's like, hey, what do the Bears consider competitive? What is good? Like, is it just him, winning the division? Is it just him, making the playoffs? I don't know how they view this thing, but we knew this was going to happen. But like, you got to win now because you haven't won, and it's not even won, but you've been embarrassed. Like, the losing streaks. 14-game losing streak, 10-game losing streak. Yeah, 10-game losing streak before you beat Green Bay at the last game of the season.
And got an extension, J-Mac.
Huh?
And got an extension off of it.
But I'm just saying,
I like this comment from Tom. He says, I understand he did some good moves this offseason, and I get you want your head coach and GM in lockstep, but I don't think he's worth a contract extension yet. I understand the conversation around that, but let me try and put it to you this way as Bears fans. Now, my big thing where Ryan Poles and y'all saw the video of me losing my mind last year where I end up kind of going off on Poles was year one, as much as you lost, in theory, was a success for what he was trying to do, right? Year one, for as much as you lost, he was trying to lose. He was trying to get the number 1 overall pick. He gets the number 1 overall pick, makes the trade, gets Justin Fields, DJ Moore. That doesn't work. He wants the quarterback that he wants moving forward. Year two, you start to see the team move in the right direction, but you're blowing this thing up at the end of the day. Year three comes here. Now that's where it's got to hit. Year three, rookie quarterback. And you didn't protect him at all. You said your best option. Here we go. Coleman Shelton. I love this question that got sent in. What recent moves has he made that makes this extension deserving? I like a lot of the things that Ryan Poles has done, but the bottom line is last season you completely set your quarterback up for failure, and off of that season, that's the one he gets an extension. That's why it's going to be tough for a lot of people to stomach this move.
Yeah, and it's puzzling. 7-10, 14-game losing streak, dysfunction, head coaching questions, head
Yeah.
coach gets fired. Your offensive coordinator, everything he did last year was in question. It is tough. It really is. It's embarrassing. It really was. And you just like you said, the first year, I cannot judge the first. It's hard to really judge the first year just because of what he inherited. But the following year, right? 14-game losing streak, 10-game losing streak last year. So, yeah.
Yeah, listen, the losing streaks are going to be the ones that are going to stand out all the time. Again, the first year you were going for losing. Year 2, you did a little bit more, but you end up having a losing streak in there as well. Year 3, I think, was the one where you kind of are like, all right, well, you got everything you want now. Are you going to protect this new piece? And
Right.
you didn't see him do that. How much of this do you feel like? And maybe this is a tough question to answer in some sense, but is this season us getting to see the real Ryan Poles? Is this Kevin Warren allowing him to act as a real GM, or is this, like we said, Ben Johnson walking in and saying, "I want this, this,
Yeah.
this, and this. Find a way to get it done for me"?
And that's a great question. And I was thinking about that too. When you look at it, when you look at, okay, the hiring of Eberflus, was that really Poles' pick, or did he really have a say in that? And when you look at Eberflus hiring Shane Waldron after Getsy, you know what I'm saying? Did Poles have a hand in that, or that was just as Eberflus's hire? Like, hey, you know what? I want Shane Waldron. You know what I mean? Okay, Ryan, that's who you want. That's who you got. So yeah, it's interesting to see how that dynamic was played out up there at Hallis. Even we questioned it during that press conference when him and Kevin was sitting there, and he's kind of just sitting there, and Kevin saying everything. So how much say and how much is it
That
really
was
his
crazy.
rock?
I forgot. I kind of
You
put that
remember
on
that
my
press
mind. That was
conference?
nuts. Yeah.
You remember we were there, we're sitting there, and I'm just like, man, like, Ryan's just sitting there and not saying anything, and Kevin's, he's saying basically like, hey, I'm the man. This I'm running this. I was about to say something different, but I can't.
I mean, we're not on the radio, so you kind of can. But I mean,
No,
there's a lot of people
I
watching.
can't. I can't say what I can't say how I can't say what I was going to say in terms of the way that Kevin Warren was sitting there at the podium.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So
Was there a little Joe Clark in his game? Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Is that
yes.
contrary to popular belief?
That's
We're
how
not
he
gonna
was
do that.
sitting.
We're not gonna do that
That's
to
how
Jay.
he was sitting there, though. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just interesting, to and like I said, man, it's tough because I've got to take my I got to have an unbiased opinion, right? That's what I'm paid to do, and I like Ryan Poles a lot. I think he's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's based upon your resume. That's what this game is. Like, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. 15
Yeah.
and 36. What is that? Does that really warrant a contract extension?
I,
And
I
I
think
think Ryan Poles will come out and tell you himself, he 15 and 36 ain't good enough. He knows
yeah.
that's not good enough.
I think it's also a conversation you got to have as well, right? Like, and I like this conversation from Michael. He says his first, second, and third round picks have been great, great, but maybe great. Let's say great, great.
Let's pull them up.
Besides a couple, much better hit rate.
Well, let's pull up. So
I don't disagree that the drafts have not been solid drafts in the first, second, and third round. What I've always said about this is, while I love Roma Dunes and think he's going to be a monster player, I think he's going to be a big help to Caleb Williams this season. Jared Verse is the defensive rookie of the year.
Well, look
and
at it.
He was right there for you at a position you needed.
Here we go. 2022, right? We talk about first, second, and third round picks. And in 2022, I've been throwing Braxton Jones because you drafted a guy in the 5th round that started.
That's a starter,
game.
Yeah.
So you found a diamond in the rough. But that year, you got Jaquan Brisker. You got Kyler Gordon.
Yep.
Right? 3rd round, you got your boy Velus Jones.
Come on.
I'm just saying, he's a 3rd round pick. They wanted to go. They wanted to go rounds 1 through 3. Velus was 3rd round picks. And you go to 2023, and you get Darnell Wright. You get Javon Dexter, you get
Yep.
Tyreek Stevenson, who all
Yep.
contributed. And Tyreek was a major player, in terms of being a second-round draft pick. He got significant playing time, even started a ton of games. And then you look at last year, not last year, I'm sorry, but hold on.
2024, Caleb Williams, Roma
Yeah,
Dunze,
Caleb, Roma,
Karan
Dunze, exactly.
Amagaji.
Karan.
And then you look at this year, Colston. We haven't seen these guys yet, but Colston Leveland, Luther Burden, Ozzie Trapillo, Shamar Turner, and then you go Ruben Hippolyte in the fourth.
Right.
But again, J Mac, and this is what I continue to point to. I like the moves that Ryan Poles has made in the draft. I like Tyreek Stevenson. Actually, I love Tyreek Stevenson. I like Javon Dexter. I like Darnell Wright. You got Tyler Scott in the fourth round on that, and the running back that we've been talking about all offseason is down in. Yeah, I mean, you got Zach Pickens. The guys that are going behind those guys, they're out there making impact plays. And so that's the part for me where it's like, yes, I can like the moves that you ended up making in the long run, and they can turn into good players. Year one, I saw a guy last season who turned into the best rookie defender in football. Oh, by the way, the year before that, you also passed on to go out there and get Darnell Wright, which was a position of need, but you also passed on a young man who ended up turning into the best rookie defender in football. You passed on the defensive rookie of the year 2 seasons in a row. That's tough.
When you look at, so let me ask you this, when you look at Ryan Poles' tenure here as GM for the Bears, and you look at his body of work, right? And in my opinion, I'll give you my opinion, and you throw in what your opinion is. The biggest thing, right, in terms of what he's been known for as a GM is the move he made with the first round pick that generated DJ Moore. And then we saw everything that came after that, right? We got a king's ransom for trading away the first round pick. Like, that's been pretty much the highlight of his tenure as the Bears GM.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Like, trading that pick away, I think, has been the biggest move that he's made. Now, we'll see what this offseason brings, right? Maybe all the big moves are up until now. Maybe all the big moves are happening this offseason. And that's why I think you do have to look at what the history has been, but also say, okay, new coach, new regime. There's a lot that has changed in this organization. Let's see what this looks like moving forward. Another question I got sent in here. I like this one. What positions right now that Ryan Poles has done do you feel are his biggest strength? I guess not what position, but like, what do you feel like Ryan Poles' biggest strength is that got him this extension? For me, I look at the contract extensions and how he's handled those. Some of the contracts are nuts, right? Nate Davis was insane.
Yeah.
You kind of knew he was a bad player coming here, and he ended up being a bad player. Big shock. Tremaine Edmonds was one where he's the third highest paid linebacker in football, and he ain't played like it. Like, it is a very, very far difference between where he's at and where we need him to be at as far as play. He's $2 million less than Roquan Smith and guys like of that ilk, right? So where do you feel like his strength is at?
Yeah, I agree with you. And look at the timing of him being able to re-sign Jalen Johnson. And then, he re-signs Jalen Johnson, and you see the cornerbacks contracts that came about right after he signed Jalen Johnson. You're like, man, we got him at a steal. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously being able to re-sign Kyler Gordon. Key pieces, key figures of your defense, not just the secondary, but key members of your defense. I think I agree with you. DJ Moore got a contract extension. So being able to really staying true to his word, rewarding guys, right, for their play and what they've meant and what they have done for the organization, but doing it in a way that's not going to hinder us, like he said, from being major players in the offseason for years to come. So, I think that's, like you said, it's been his ability to re-sign players at a good number to make sure that we stay competitive in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that you got to look at the flip side of this, right? Where are you still concerned with him? Where are you still concerned with him right now? Like, to me, there's some deals that have been made, or there are some moves that have been made in the past. And again, there's a very different regime. Let's hope it actually plays out that way. But for me, when I look at the offensive line evaluation, that's the part that scares me the most. You went out and paid money for it, but guess what? You got 2 years left on Joe Thuney. Now, I do think there's some forward thinking, bringing in Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson better on the left side than on the right side. If you can kind of get him in there and he's average on that right side for a couple of years, or you move him back over to the left side where he's most comfortable, you feel good about that. But like, the offensive line evaluation has been absolutely atrocious here, J Mackey. You've almost gotten 2 quarterbacks killed.
Yeah, especially, you look at the look at the shape of the offensive line the last 2 years. He's been a huge question mark. Even going into the offseason and the draft was a question mark, and then not being able to really revitalize that position, those previous 2 years. And we saw it came back to hurt us. 68 sacks, was it 68? 65
Yeah,
total sacks last year?
68
I
sacks.
think it
Yeah,
was 68, right? And,
yeah,
and
it
yeah,
was
we talk
68.
about it. It's not all on the offensive line, but hey, it's some of it's on the rookie quarterback. But at the end of the day, like, it just wasn't good enough. And that was something that was a major question mark going into that season that was never addressed. And it resulted in you having a 5-12 record, 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, the big question mark right now is, how is this evaluation going to be for how is Ryan Poles going to evaluate some of the guys that now maybe you have to go from scratch to get? What is an Ozzy Trapillo going to look like? We still got
Mm-hmm.
Karan Amagaji in the
Yep.
room. I mean, what do we think that's going to end up being in the long run? Is he a piece that you honestly can utilize in the long run? Like, those are the things to me where, and even just some of the ignoring of the things that were obvious needs for what the Bears had. You know what I mean? Nobody
Yeah.
was surprised by the fact that we went into last season and said, hey, Ryan Poles needs to address the center position. He went out and got Coleman Shelton. And I think even some getting locked in on a guy, Ryan Poles will bulldog a move as soon as he gets the opportunity. And this is not a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing, right? If you get the right guy.
Right.
Ryan Poles wanted Ryan Bates 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Didn't happen. All of a sudden, a trade for Ryan Bates became available. He pounces on it. Ryan Bates is exactly who we thought Ryan Bates was. A backup guy who, listen, J-Mac, you've been on the football field, and you said, he was like, I mean, this dude has played as a backup his whole career, and all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe he's going to be the face of this offensive line moving forward. Like, there was just this gem in the background. Like, I don't think that we're going to be sitting there feeling good about things like that, where it's you lock in on a move and you're so gung-ho to make that move that even when it's like, this doesn't make sense for right now, you still go make it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like I said, it's going to be hit or miss. Draft, free agency, it's hit or miss. Even with the guys we brought in, right? As stellar as Joe Tooney's career has been, right? As successful as his career has been, right? You talk about the rings and accolades that he's achieved. He's getting older. He's older, so it's what version of Joe Tooney do we have? I know a few years back, towards the end of my career here in Chicago, we acquired Orlando Pace. And, we were super excited. I was super excited because I'd been a fan of Orlando Pace for a long time. But, when Orlando came here, he was older. He was different.
Yeah.
He was a great teammate. He was a great leader in the locker room, but, he was different. He wasn't as dominant as what we saw when he was in St. Louis. He can still play, you know what I mean? But he wasn't like that perennial Pro Bowl Orlando Pace that we had seen, throughout his entire career. So I just say that to say this: what version are we getting of Joe Tooney? What version are we getting of Grady Jarrett? And that's going to be every year. You know what I mean? Even when guys were in their prime or in their peak in the NFL, this thing is year to year. It's about your performance now. Not what you did in the past, not what you did lately, but what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And the same thing with Montez Sweat. He came in, he was hot, right? And what happened last year? That's a question now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
100%.
it's a production based business. It's all about numbers. And like I said, they ain't gonna lie to you.
And
So
you got to be willing. I think that's the part that scares me a little bit too, right? When you talk about some of the struggles he has, it's like, you got to be willing to move off of the piece when it tells you that it
yeah,
ain't there. I mean, we
yeah.
saw that with some guys where it's like, yeah, listen, he brought in his name's escaping me, the backup quarterback from Carolina, right? And he ended up PJ Brown. No, what was his name? PJ Brown. We end
For
up bringing
PJ Walker,
PJ
Temple
Walker.
guy, Temple
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
We end up bringing him in, and he was a $2 million player, and you were like, well, he's the backup quarterback. That's obvious. Tyson Bagent comes in, Tyson Bagent wins the job, PJ Walker's gone. There's certain times where he did it, but then you see the Velus Jones situation. He's like, well, that's his guy, and he's not getting rid of his guy, and it hurt. It almost seemed like it hurt Ryan Poles to get rid of Velus Jones. By the time he got rid of it, it took him another kickoff fumble as he gets kicked up the field. So, like, those are the things for me where I look at him, and I think this article is very interesting. NBC Sports put this out. And they ranked all of the GMs, and it's to me why he is down here. Brian Gutekunst gets a fifth best GM in the NFL. Brad Holmes is sixth. Kwefi Adolfo-Mensah is 13th. Ryan Poles coming in 23rd on this list, and I think a big chunk of the reason why you see him that far down there and why people view him, and some people may come in here and say this extension was a little bit premature, was the fact that, yeah, for everything that you've tried to do, there are all of these moments where everyone else thinks this is obvious for you to go out there and get it done, except for you. Very similar. And again, as much as he did this offseason, very similar to what we saw where me and you and everybody in Bears land and football land was like, well, you got to get somebody opposite Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
And you didn't even really go draft a guy that could be opposite Montez Sweat. So
those
are
the jury's still out. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
We talk about Dale Dingbo, the jury's still out. Can he be that guy? Can there be a guy? Can I don't know. Is there a guy on the roster, or do they feel there's a guy on the roster besides who they brought in Dale? Dominic Robinson, is he a guy that's a better fit in this Dennis Allen scheme? Is Austin Booker going to take the next step, and how are they going to use him? Is he going to be a situational pass rusher? I just don't see him being an every down DN. He's not a real big guy. I don't know how he's going to be against the run.
Yeah.
It's a lot of question marks, as it is with every roster right now. But like you said, with him being ranked the 23rd GM, I think it has a lot to do with that win-loss record. That's just what it is. Despite what you've done, despite the draft capital you've been able to accumulate, despite some of the successes that you've had in re-signing players and negotiating contracts, you've had your misses, right? We talk about Nate Davis, talk about Chase Claypool. You've had your misses via the draft, which GMs are going to have. But at the end of the day, most of these GMs are being judged about the product that's on the field based upon the wins and losses, right? Who's number one on that list?
Number one on that list is, give me 1 second. That was Howie Roseman of the Eagles. That's pretty obvious.
You see that, but
Howie Roseman of the Eagles, pretty obvious. Yeah, Howie Roseman won. Andy Reid / Brett Veach, number 2 on that list. Sean McVay / Les Snead, number 3 on that list. Eric DeCosta, 4, and then Brian Gutekunst, like I said, coming in 5.
And what do all those teams have in common, right? All of those teams, right, every single year, right, it's not just them being they're all competitive, right? Because those GMs have done a good job of making sure that their roster and their organization is competitive each and every year. But every single year, all of those teams have a real legitimate shot of being Super Bowl contenders. Now, not so much, I would say, not so much the Rams. I think it's just with the level of consistency of them making the playoffs. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? You look at the Ravens, like every year they're knocking on the door. We obviously know Kansas City, the Eagles got over the hump this year, but they're always competitive. Always. And like I said before, it's based upon them putting together solid rosters, but it's also based upon their win-loss record. That's what it is. I mean, 15 wins, you're not going to be in the top. You shouldn't be in the top 10. That's just what it is.
You should be a little bit lower on that list. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, J-Mac. I know we're talking here about Ryan Poles so much, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to one man and one man only that this has to work for. Caleb Williams. Does this give Caleb Williams the stability that he needs to where you can say, excuse is gone. GM's in place. He's going to be there with you. Coaches in place. He's going to be there with you. We gave you the team. We gave you the receivers. You literally have everything that every great quarterback in this NFL dreams of. And it's why some people still believe Trevor Lawrence can be good because they're like, well, he's never had that stability. Does this give Caleb Williams a true stable foundation for you to be able to have a good evaluation on him this season of who he can be as a quarterback?
Definitely. Like you got everything you need. And, you've got weapons. You will see. You've got an improved offensive line. I keep saying on paper. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Second year in the system. You got an offensive-minded head coach that has a good track record in terms of working with quarterbacks, in terms of putting an offense out there that can score points. He comes from an offense he led that scored 33 points a game. So, like I said, there's no excuses in terms of having the right people in place to make sure that our number one overall pick, our hope to be franchise quarterback, is going to be in good situations every single week to go out there and to really, put his fingerprint on a game plan, but also leading the offense based upon the skill set because we have the right people in place that know how to construct that and devise that. So it's all on Caleb. Are you really that guy? Are you him? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Are you the guy that can come in and really be that franchise quarterback that we drafted you number one overall to be? And it's all on you. You got two tight ends now. You got two tight ends. You got. I mean, I don't. You know what I mean? You got receivers. You've got an offensive minded head coach that can devise a plan, that can put together all kind of trick plays and puts a lot of things in place to give his offense an advantage, and a guy who understands how to create matchups and exploit a defense, and how to get his quarterback playing fast and successful, and understands how to put together game plans so that way his quarterback has a chance to be successful each and every Sunday. And he also brought in the coaches around him that can really help develop players, not just your quarterback, but all players. On that offense, you got a guy in Antoine Randall that has had a good track record of really developing receivers over there in Detroit, and hopes to be able to bring that to Chicago. You got young receivers. You got Roma Dunze. We already know DJ Moore's in the building. You brought in a guy from the Commanders in Zacchaeus. So you got two tight ends who you think you can go out there and put together some mismatches, but also create some opportunities and help a quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like, it is no excuses for Caleb. Like, you have to take that jump in year two. And another thing, I think it's even more pressure on Caleb because when you look at guys who are in good situations, they were in better situations, I think, than Caleb their rookie year. When you look at Jaden Daniels, right? You look at Bo Nix. You look at some of these other quarterbacks that were in good situations, that had offensive coordinators that understood how to develop and how to create a scheme to help their rookie quarterback be successful. When you see those guys having success, their confidence level is going to stay sky high. So I don't
Yeah.
see any of those guys taking a step back. I see those guys taking a major jump, right? Because now the game's slowing down. They had success the first year, and now the offensive coordinator understands their player even more. So now he can add on and build upon what he already had in place for them their first year, build upon that success. So I think it is a lot of pressure on Caleb, and Caleb knows that. He's seen what those guys did. He knows he's always going to be compared to those other quarterbacks taken in the draft.
Yeah, we talked about that when we were on the radio last week, right? Like the conversation around Caleb is always going to be, well, yes, maybe he did this, but what did he do compared to what Jaden Daniels did? Yes, maybe he did this, but what did he do compared to what Bo Nix did? And I'll be honest with you, right now, you don't have what we said last season about Jaden Daniels was that, he's in a better situation. He's got a head coach that understands his game and an OC that's going to develop things for him and how he wants to do them. And we don't have that here for Caleb Williams. You do now. Yeah. We say he's got a GM that's going to go out there and he's going to put pieces in front of him that are going to help him. Caleb didn't have the offensive line. They gave it to Jaden, and Jaden still went out there, got sacked, and still made plays. You do now.
Yeah.
Like, all those things, all those excuses, all of those. And I'm not saying that they were excuses, I guess, but like all of the things that contributed to the failures of last season. You've answered a lot of those questions this offseason. I do believe that this is going to be a huge season here for Caleb Williams, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing how this team goes about operating at training camp coming up in a couple of weeks here. Before we get up out of here, appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave the 5-star review if you have not done so. We're not live 5 days a week because we have radio shows on the station. Shout out to all the shows we have here at ESPN Chicago, but you can tune into the Chicago Bears podcast Monday through Friday over on the ESPN Chicago app. You also can check us out on YouTube Monday through Friday, and some days you get a 6th episode like this. There's a whole nother episode that's in the chamber. I don't know when Eric's gonna release it now because Ryan Poles got extended. We gotta let this cook. Let this thing cook.
This is breaking news, man.
This is breaking news. You gotta let it cook. Before we get out of here, J-Mac, every week we do our dog of the week on the podcast. I'll go with I got a positive dog this week. J-Mac, I know you've got you've had somebody that's cost you money this week, at least once. My dog of the week, positive dog of the week, Randall Grichuk. Don't know how to say his last name. Not gonna lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
Of the Orioles, that's why I don't know how to say his last name. I'm not watching Orioles baseball that often. He won a baseball game on an inside the park home run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a dog move. Now, when you see the play, hits the ball, caroms off of the wall, goes down, right? All the exciting things to see, but that's a wild play to see. I saw that. I think that was on the day after the 4th. Yeah. And he was flying around the bases. Walk off inside the park home run. Love that. J-Mac, you got a dog of the week for us? Somebody cost you some money this week?
No, mine's positive, man. I just give a shout out to my football team. We've been in this Bears Nike tournament the last 2 days. And man, we've been in this tournament the last 4 years, and we've come in second place. Last year we were in second place. We lost by 7 points. And for the guys to, be resilient, want to keep playing in this tournament. It's an awesome tournament because it gives an opportunity. You highlight the skill players through 7-on-7 play, but the offensive linemen, they get love through offensive line challenges. So there's a D-line hoop drill, there's a bench press competition, farmer's carry, tire flip, all of those things that highlight offensive linemen as well. And 16 teams from the Chicagoland area, a lot of great coaches coaching their players, and we were able to take home the trophy this week. So my entire football team, my coaches that helped me coach this event, they're all my dogs of the week. So we're able to got a beautiful trophy, man. I should have brought it up here to show everybody, but
that would have been fire. That would have been fire.
I got it here too. But you know what? It just helps. It helps that we were able to overcome adversity playing in this tournament. It just hopefully can catapult us into having a good season. We're a team that missed the playoffs last year. We got to get back. So it's a good start. Good start to the summer and a good start to this summer practice as well.
Yeah, man, I love it. When you sit there through it, it was the reason we didn't end up doing the episode Wednesday, because you was sitting there out there dominating with the team. So big shout out to all the boys out there, man. All the work that y'all put in. And listen, y'all get ready for some Carmel football this year, bro. It's gonna be some dogs out there. You're gonna see some dogs of the week on the field every single week, man. Oh, don't you Ben Johnson us with it's gonna be fun. You gotta hit us with the Ben Johnson. Hey man, we appreciate y'all for rocking with us as always. For Jason McKie, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. The news is here that Ryan Poles has been extended. Let us know how you feel in the comments below.
Look, Pat, my wife brought it.
Oh, look. She didn't brought it to you.
Look at the thing right there, boy. You see that? It's got a reflection so you can see. Pat, you see all the papers on my desk? Look at
all. Oh, man. J-Mac, do you have pants on? No, I'm just playing. I'm joking. I
got shorts on, man.
Hey, man, y'all stay safe out there in Chicago. The Mac Main with the dub. You should do every pod like that now. You should just do every single pod like that.
Just gonna leave it. I just sit this right here, man. You know what I mean?
Y'all stay safe out there in Chicago. Bet down. One love. Peace.
Peace.